Hello and welcome to the Naked Expat channel. I've been in email correspondence with a gentleman called Stephen from the UK who's almost at retirement, and he's been married for 23 years to a Filipino, and they've been living in the UK. And over the course of the next couple of years, they're planning on retiring fully and moving to the Philippines. He said he's visited the Philippines in excess of 10 times already. They've got a home that they've built in the Philippines ready for their retirement. And they're obviously looking to enjoy retirement in the Philippines. And I'm not sure whether or not his wife has got a British citizenship or not. However, when they come to the Philippines, I did suggest to him, look, if you're traveling together, which you are, then you're able to avail of the Balikbayan visa privilege, which is available to Filipinos and former Filipinos. And the spouse, i.e. Stephen, if they're traveling together when they land in the Philippines, no problem at all. And they're very, very interested in applying for the SRRV Courtesy Visa. Now, the SRRV Courtesy Visa is actually pretty cheap for former Filipinos. The amount of security deposit you need to put into the bank is only 1,000, say only, but compared to the other visa types, it's only 1,500 US dollars. And that sits in the account, earning the square root of nothing. You don't get any interest on it. It's there for deposit reasons. With that, you apply for the SRRV, and his wife, the former Filipina, applies as the principal for the visa, and he applies as the dependent spouse. No problem at all. Now, anybody that's gone through the SRRV system knows that in order to get any discount or reduced fees, you need to prove what's known as a guaranteed income. Now, that doesn't include personal pensions because they're not guaranteed. You can have drawdown, they can fluctuate, etc. But final salary occupational pension schemes, not money purchase pension schemes, final salary pension schemes, superannuation, government schemes, and state pensions are obviously guaranteed, and therefore they can be included. Hopefully you won't get much noise. I've left the door open today because it's a lovely day and I get a little bit more light because sometimes my videos are a bit dark. So, and you might hear a plane flying over occasionally, but hey, so what? This is real. So when you're looking at guaranteeing your pension, you cannot use anything apart from guaranteed state pension, fixed annuities, or state-sponsored pension schemes. Now, this situation that Stephen has is actually quite interesting, and although he's British, it does affect other people in other countries that may or may not think, oh, well, I've got enough income to satisfy the requirements. If you're applying on your own, you need to have at least $800 a month guaranteed income as a pension. If you're applying jointly, it's actually a bit better because it's $1,000 a month guaranteed income, but that can come from both of you. Now, the situation as it currently is for Stephen and his wife is his wife, he didn't mention her age, but she is already in receipt of the UK state pension. So she's at least over 60, if not over 65, depending on if she's in the new scheme or the old scheme. I don't know, but she's definitely over the age of 60. And she's currently receiving the equivalent of $350 a month. Now, Stephen is not getting any guaranteed income at the moment, but he does have two personal pensions valued at about $140,000 each, £140,000 each, sorry, not dollars. And they want to apply for the SRRV and they need to prove guaranteed income. Now, Stephen's got a couple of options here, and it's really interesting because depending on your attitude will depend on which way you want to go. He's already said, well, when we retire to the Philippines, his wife and extended family or what have you have other land, or they have other land, and they're looking to perhaps to build other properties, maybe to generate an income, Airbnb or just rental properties, etc. When you're like, okay, yeah, well, that sounds very good. But remember that his wife is already in receipt of basic state pension from the UK. So she's over the age of 60. And Stephen has said that he gets his full UK state pension in 2027. So Stephen's either going to be 65, 66 or 67. So these people, this couple, both over the age of 60. Now that's important because you could argue, okay, well, If Mrs. has British citizenship, now the UK allows dual nationality, like my son, for example, is Filipino and British citizenship. He's got both passports. The UK allows that, but the Philippines doesn't. So what she could do, the absolute cheapest option, would be come in on Balikbayan visa for 1 year, give up your UK citizenship and your UK passport. Probably not wise, so don't get on the keyboard just yet. But give up your British citizenship, become a Filipino again, and then Stephen, the husband, can just simply get a 13A visa and pay a couple of hundred pesos each year to renew it in January. Job's a good one. No, because the problem is with 13A visa, and this is where the SRRV is of benefit. Now remember, there's not a huge age gap between this husband and wife. They're both over the age of 60. If he was to be on a 13A spouse's visa and Mrs. was to die first, then his 13A visa dies with her and he's back on a tourist visa. Now he's already told me they've got property already. They've got a retirement home ready for them to live in. And irrespective of whether they develop any other property or anything else, whether that's a good thing or not, I'll come on to. But he's suddenly on a tourist visa. His wife's died and he's suddenly on a tourist visa and he's up the creek without a paddle unless he does something about it. And at that time, he would not be eligible for a special privileged SRRV visa. He would have to go on the normal SRRV visa, which is going to cost him tens of thousands of dollars to put in as a security deposit and lots more to renew on an annual basis. He's got no spouse backing him up anymore because she's died. With the SRRV Courtesy Visa, although she's the principal applicant and Mr. is the dependent spouse on a joint application, and they require $1,000 a month guaranteed income to prove, if she dies, that SRRV Courtesy Visa doesn't die. On death of the principal applicant, Stephen would then, as the spouse, become the main applicant. And it's just the status quo is maintained and it just continues happily as normal and he can enjoy his retirement. So that is one absolute benefit of SRRV visas over 13A spouses visas, if you're so inclined. Obviously, it's very important to consider that if your age, there isn't much of an age gap because Stephen could outlive his wife. I know the girls normally outlive the boys. However, depending on lifestyle, etc., it could be that he outlives his wife. So if they're both on the SRRV courtesy visa scheme, he is protected. And that's worth knowing. Now, moving on to the income requirement, we need to know that to satisfy the SRRV, they need between them $1,000 a month. We know that she's going to be getting a UK state pension. She's already in receipt of it, of approximately $350 a month. So they're short. However, Stephen's already done a little bit of research and at his age, he can convert one of his pensions of $140,000. He didn't say whether or not he's going to take the tax-free cash. So Stephen, if you're watching this, take the tax-free cash out of your pension, which is approximately £35,000, and the remainder used to buy your guaranteed annuity. You didn't mention whether or not you did that or whether you looked at how much 140,000 would give you as an annuity. So I'm just assuming that you've taken that 140,000 and you've asked various providers, what's that going to give me as a guaranteed annuity? And it's come out at about £7,000 a year or approximately $700 a month. Plus your wife's guaranteed pension, that takes you just over the $1,000 a month threshold for the SRRV. So fantastic, great. We know that in 2 years' time, in 2026, 2027, you said sometime in 2027, you're eligible for your full UK state pension. Now that is currently £241.30 a week. Times that by 52, divided by 12, is just over £1,000 a month. Or, in the Philippines, they work off US dollars for the SRRV, $1,400 a month. So you've got a total income when you both retire and you're getting all of your pensions in of $2,450 a month. Now, bearing in mind, you're both in your latter years, you're in your 60s, you're probably going to be enjoying a relatively simple, quiet life, and you own your home already. So there's no rent or anything else like that. I'm not sure where you are. You did ask where I am. I'm actually just outside Angeles, very near to Clark. sort of North Angela City. So, okay, that's great. Now, you've got this other pension of £140,000 as well. What do you do with it? You've said, well, I could cash it in. I might need some cash. I'll be looking at doing some investments, maybe buy property and rent it out. Now, this is where I normally say, whoa, hang on a minute. Don't go becoming asset rich and cash poor in your latter years, because you don't know, Stephen, or your wife, how well you're going to be in your latter years. You might be well in your 50s and 60s onwards, but after that, in your 70s and 80s, you may become very infirm and you might need more medical treatment. Now, do you want good medical care, or are you just going to die in the province and just give up? Entirely up to you. It might be that you want good healthcare cover, which I always really do insist that people consider. Why complicate your retirement? You already own the property. You've already got a home for retirement. Why complicate and go all for the drama of building property and investing? Your wife's keen on you investing, but you've got this 140,000 sounds like a lot of money, but you can take out tax-free cash, 25% tax-free cash, which is 35,000. That leaves you with just over 105,000 pounds to generate an additional income. Now, what you can do over the years ahead is you're familiar with drawdown, take tax-free cash, you can use that to buy an annuity like you've done with this one, or for better value for money, you can take chunks out over the years ahead. Now, we know that, and I'm not sure if you can see this, hopefully you can, we know that up to £12,570, no tax. Then you've got tax to pay between £12,570 and just over £50,000 a year on income. You got to pay, you pay 20% tax. Now, if you were to take out that's approximately, it nearly makes no difference, £38,000. Yeah, say, let's call it £35,000 just to keep well within the threshold. You got 35,000 tax-free cash, and you can take out another 35,000 and just pay basic rate tax on it. If you were to generate an annuity, you're going to be paying basic rate tax because it's paid net anyway of tax, and there's no way to reclaim it, because the BIR in the Philippines won't sign the authority for the HMRC to issue with a nil tax code. That doesn't happen because in the Philippines, the BRI's new attitude of the last few years, and there is actually a circular to this extent, that because they don't tax foreign overseas income, they're not looking at monitoring it. So that's why they won't sign the HMRC forms. So whatever income you do generate is going to be paid net from the UK. So you can take 35,000 tax-free cash and about another 35,000 out each year. So you could take out in 2026. You can't take it out after 2027 because you've got this state pension as well coming in, which is going to basically give you've got income already coming in from this annuity, and then you've got your state pension coming in as well on top of that. You're not going to be able to take out much more in those following years. You've got an option. Take out little bits of cash each year from what's left after you've taken out the tax-free cash, and gradually draw down that pension over the years ahead, in line with no more than, in total, about £50,000 a year in total income from your annuity, from your state pension, and whatever leeway you've got up to that 50,270. That's what you can take out and draw down each year thereafter, until you wash it all the way out, and that comes down to zero. Your other option to play safe, and this is something that you might wish to consider because of your ages. It might upset your wife because this is going to go against basically investing in property and taking on more risk in the Philippines. My suggestion is, if you're in your mid-60s already, why have the hassle? If you've got this 140,000, take out 35,000 as tax-free cash. Use that as a banker for emergency funds, and like you said, you might want to buy a little car or something like that to get yourself around. Fantastic. You might also have a little bit of tax-free cash from this pension as well. You've not said, which is obviously additional cash, and any other savings that you might have. But you've got 35,000 already. The remainder, you could actually just buy an annuity. If you buy an annuity, that's going to give you at least, say, $500 a month. Sorry about the short break. I just had a delivery I had to take care of. Right, now where was I? If you've got 35,000 as tax-free cash of this additional pension, you're left with about 105,000. What I would suggest for an absolute simple life is use that 105,000. You're in your mid to late 60s, Stephen, and use that to buy an annuity. And that generates an income. And it's going to generate an income of about $600 a month. So for life, peace of mind, guaranteed income coming in. Wonderful, fantastic. That's an option. And then with that money, you can use that. Let's say it's about, not pounds, let's say it's approximately $500 per month. It's income that you probably don't need, but it could fund a premium quite comfortably for international health insurance. Why is that important? Well, we know that you're going to be retiring in 2027. You're going to be 65, 66, 67 then. What are you going to do if you get seriously ill? Well, you might just want to pay your money and take your chance. Fine. You could just enjoy this income and not bother about health cover. And that's obviously a risk. The problem if you use any capital to invest and build property and generate a rental income is, what are you going to do if you're sick? You're probably going to get hit really, really hard with hundreds of thousands of pesos, if not millions, in hospital bills. And how are you going to pay for that? Because a lot of expats end up being asset rich and cash poor because they built property, they've invested in property. Property is only worth as much as somebody's worth to pay it. And people buy second or third homes and they say, oh yeah, well, we built this property for 5 or 7 million peso and now it's worth 12 million. Well, it's only worth 12 million if somebody pays you 12 million and if somebody actually buys it and you end up with the cash in the bank. There's no point in having 1 or 2 houses or 3 houses or more in the Philippines and then you're getting a bill of 1-2 million peso for a heart surgery in the Philippines to keep you alive. You ain't got the money to pay for it, but you got 3 houses. Difficult, really, really difficult. I get where you guys are coming from. Oh, invest in property, it's always a good bet. Well, the most prudent thing to do is to stay relatively liquid. You've got a family home already. Why do you need to invest more? Probably to cover your ass, you're better off having good health insurance. Nothing like the local policies, which are obviously claims based. If you make claims, then your premium's going to get ratcheted up until it becomes unaffordable in the future. Get international health insurance, link in the description, and certainly the ebook as well, so you can educate yourself on it. And then if you do need a heart surgery, you can choose which country you have it in. You're not constrained just to have it in the Philippines. Definitely worth knowing. So you can either have this 105,000 after you've taken the tax-free cash and generate an income with it via an annuity. You can just have the 105,000 and take it year by year as capital lump sums and draw it down until it's worth zero in the future and you've had all of that cash out, which is the way that you might want to do it if you want that capital to invest in buying land or building property, additional investment, but also additional headache. You could actually say, you know what? I'll take that tax-free cash. I need that to buy a car and everything else. And this amount, I'll take out in tranches. I don't need the money. Go and stick it in an offshore ETF and let it grow. You don't have to spend it. You could invest it in an offshore ETF. And there are benefits of investing offshore because your money's not in the UK anymore, which is liable to potentially inheritance tax, depending on your net worth. And it's not being repatriated to the Philippines either. So it's in limbo offshore where it can be invested in a tax efficient environment. And you're only potentially, well, you're not in the Philippines. If you live in the Philippines, you're not liable to anything that you bring into the Philippines as foreign receipts, which is great. So don't have it in the UK, leave it in somewhere like the Isle of Man, offshore, in a tax efficient manner, growing tax free, in very, very dirt cheap ETFs to let grow. Greater peace of mind, and God forbid if you needed a heart surgery or something like that, or a hip replacement or a knee replacement in the future, you can't go, oh shit, I need to sell a house. You can just dip into your offshore savings and take out 50 grand and convert it into peso or whatever using Wise or Remit or Revolut, and then boom, there's your money for your operation. You've invested it and it's liquid. Great, fantastic, offshore. So there's a couple of options for you. I know I've whizzed through this relatively quickly, but it may or may not be worth you looking at 13A if you think that's the absolute cheapest option. I don't think it is the best option for you. I think the balik bayan visa coming in and sorting out your SRRV joint application is the best route to go. I do not think that you should invest additionally in property because you already have property. You've already built a lovely family home for retirement. That's it. That should be great. Let yourself sleep at night. You don't know what your health's like. Enjoy your retirement and relax. Don't be worried about getting ripped off by construction and technically, okay, you never own the land because your wife does, you know. And then God forbid, if you are sick in the future, you've remained liquid in places so you can access cash should you need it in an emergency, which is really, really important because health and wealth go hand in hand. You can't consider one without the other. Right. I hope this has been of interest to you. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover today. Although this is specific to Stephen and his wife, I think it's important for other people to just watch this and think, actually, hang on a minute, that doesn't apply to me, but this does. And certainly if you wanted to perhaps retire here with your wife on a 13A visa, which is the immediate cheap route, you might think, okay, well, I'm actually in better health than my wife. Maybe the retirement, the SRRV route is a better route for you and more cost efficient, and it doesn't die with you if your spouse passes away. Maybe not so much important if you're 60 and your wife's 18, chances are she's going to outlive you, but I hope you found this of interest. Please do me a huge favor, like, subscribe and share it with somebody else that might also find this video of interest to them, because I do think some of the points here are very, very valid. Do drop comments in the comments section below. I try to reply to all of them where I can. Keep it clean, guys. And should you wish to become a channel member, you can join and to get exclusive early access to a lot of my videos and weekly live streams that are coming on board very shortly. And as always, enjoy.